Hi everyone, this is Migs from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have a detailed review on the Air Jordan 3 Cool Grey. To start things off, I do have to give props to the box that these come in, because instead of the usual Jordan 3 box, they used a box similar to the ones we found on the Jordan 3 Unite, where you have that elephant print for almost a third of the box, and for the rest of the box you have the color of the shoe. So with the Unite Jordan 3, since those were red, you had red on the box, but with the Cool Grey 3s, you have Cool Grey on the box as well. So once again, props to Jordan Brand for the box because I think it is a really nice touch and just makes it a little bit more unique. Then for the history on the Cool Grey Jordan 3, it is quite interesting that this wasn't part of the original Cool Greys that dropped in 2001, because in that initial retro series, you had the Jordan 11 Cool Greys, the Jordan 4s, and the Jordan 9s. Then 6 years later and 6 years after the success of the first 3 Cool Grey Jordans, we had the Jordan 3 Cool Grey. It was pretty interesting how they did the Cool Grey on the Jordan 3s, because with the Jordan 4s, Jordan 9s, and Jordan 11s, it was almost all grey all throughout, with a little bit of white for some balance. But with the Jordan 3 Cool Greys, you not only have various shades of grey and white, but you also have some burnt yellow and red pops of color. I'm gonna be completely honest, and when I first saw these leak online and when I first saw that they were releasing in February, I wasn't really hyped up about them and I wasn't really feeling the Cool Grey vibe. But as I kept looking at these, they really started to grow on me, and it just really became a shoe that I wanted to cop. I really don't have any regrets getting this shoe because it looks so much better in person, and plus the materials on these Cool Grey Jordan 3s are just amazing. Oh, and before we get into the tech specs, just in case you are wondering what my ranking on the Cool Grey Jordans would be, it would have to be the Jordan 11 number 1 because it kinda wins by default since it's a Jordan 11. Then I'd actually put the Jordan 3 second, then I'd have the Cool Grey Jordan 4s at third, and in fourth place I would put the Jordan 9 Cool Grey. Then for the tech specs on the Jordan 3, you have that signature Jordan 3 traction pattern with this pivot point and circular design on the medial side of the forefoot, and these thick rubber cutouts around the shoe. You also have those stars at the forefoot, and just a quick tip if you like buying shoes that are slightly used, the best way to check if the Jordan 3s or Jordan 1s that you wanna buy on the aftermarket are in good condition and were barely used, you can ask them to take a picture or you take a look at the forefoot where the stars are, and if the stars are still intact, then that means that the pair you're planning to buy was well maintained and was barely used. The traction on the Jordan 3 does work pretty well. It's not as grippy as the Jordan 1, but it does a really good job sticking to most surfaces, especially since this is more of a casual shoe nowadays. The Jordan 3 was made in the late 80s, so you best believe that the outsole is really durable, since that rubber is pretty robust and is really thick as well. Then for the cushion, you have a full-length polyurethane midsole with an encapsulated air unit here in the forefoot and a visible air unit here in the heel. The Jordan 3 marks a very historic time with the Jordan signature line because the Jordan 3 was the first Air Jordan with visible air. Now, just because it's visible doesn't mean that you can feel it, because you really can barely feel the air units in the forefoot and in the heel on the Jordan 3s. But on a positive note, the polyurethane midsole they used on the Cool Grey Jordan 3 Retro feels a little bit more forgiving than most of the polyurethane midsoles we get from Jordan Brand. You also have a pretty basic foam insole instead of the usual polyurethane midsoles that you get with the OG Jordan 3s. And that insole is quite comfortable at first, but of course over time it will start thinning out faster than a polyurethane insole would, and once that happens, the comfort from the insole tends to become pretty non-existent. So given that you only have a basic foam insole and a polyurethane midsole, if you're not used to wearing shoes from the 80s and early 90s, you'd probably want to get a third-party insole to make these more comfortable. You'd also want those third-party insoles if you were to play in a pair of Jordan 3s, because if you play in these without third-party insoles, then your knees are pretty much gonna be shot. Then for the materials, it's pretty much the star of the show because the leather that they used on the Jordan 3 Cool Greys is just super duper soft and so supple as well. This will definitely get even softer the more that you wear them, and it's just what I would hope Jordan Brand would put on all of their retros, since we do pay $190 to $200 on every Jordan retro. So if they don't have materials that are as nice as these, then I think we should have a problem with that. The light gray leather on the tongue is also super nice and soft as well. It's also nice and padded at the back of the tongue and on the sock liner as well. But it's nice that they didn't overdo it, because sometimes you'd have those Jordan 3s and Jordan 4s that have so much padding inside that it makes the shoe a little puffy and a little skateboard shoe light. So I'm glad that they were able to balance the right amount of padding with enough sleekness as well. You have that signature rubber heel tab at the back, nice perforated panels of suede here at the ankle collar and the midfoot part of the lacing, and of course you have those classic elephant elephant print panels on the forefoot and heel as well. The materials are just super premium and super soft all throughout, and it just feels super good in hand and even better on foot. Then for fit and sizing, I did go true to size with the Jordan 3, and it fits me perfectly well. I've really been loving the shape of the Jordan 3s over the past year or two, since they've slimmed down the toe quite a bit to make it even closer to the original Jordan 3s. I do use my UNC Jordan 3s that released in early 2020 quite a lot. By the way, review for those UNC 3s are on the channel as well, so go check that out. But with those UNC Jordan 3s, since it does have the same shape, it just fits me really well, which actually makes sure that the shoe doesn't bubble around the toe and doesn't crease awkwardly as well. The materials on the shoe are also really comfortable and really soft, so the fit is only gonna get better the more that I use these. So my recommendation for the sizing is to go true to size whether you have a normal foot or a narrow width foot. Then if you have a slightly wide foot, I think you might be able to go true to size because the materials are so soft. But if you have really wide feet or flat feet, then you should probably go up half a size in the Jordan 3s. Then for the aesthetic details, here on the outsole, that radial pattern as well as this mid-foot to heel cutout are both in this really clean white. Then since the cool gray Jordan 3 isn't an original Jordan 3 colorway, instead of Nike branding, you have Jordan branding here in red. Then rounding out the outsole, you have this dark gray rubber everywhere else. Then moving on to the midsole, you do have some of that gray rubber coming up on the forefoot and heel. Then for the polyurethane, it is mostly white, except for this portion at the heel that has this dark gray, which is slightly lighter than the gray on the outsole. You also have that visible air unit here at the heel, and the pillars on that air unit are that sort of burnt yellow. Then on the upper, it is pretty nice that even though the shoe is almost completely gray, you have a lot of varying shades all throughout the upper. For the dark gray, you have that heel tab at the back. Then just a tiny shade lighter would be the gray that you find on the perforated panels. Here on the ankle collar, the midfoot part of the lacing, and the back of the tongue. Then a few shades lighter than that would be the main body of the shoe, which is this nice gray leather. And judging by comparisons that I saw on the internet, the Jordan 3 Cool Gray Retro that we have this year seems to have a darker shade of gray than the original ones that were released in 2007. But personally, it isn't much of an issue because I kind of like this shade of gray. And both shades, both from the 2021 Retro and the originals from 2007, are pretty chill. You have that same shade of gray on the elephant print panels on the forefoot and heel. And then for the lightest shade of gray, you have it here on the tongue. Then you have a few more colors mixed in there. So you have white on the laces, the sock liner, and the insole. This burnt yellow on the lace loops here near the forefoot as well as the ankle. And that air branding at the back. Then for the red accents, you do have that Jumpman on the tongue, that Jumpman in the heel, and that Jumpman on the insole. You do only have Jumpman or Jordan branding all throughout the shoe because like I said a while ago, the Cool Gray Jordan 3s were released in 2007 and weren't an original colorway. Then for the overall aesthetics, I've just really grown to love these Jordan 3s, and it's kind of surprising because I really wasn't feeling these at all when I first saw them online. What really helped it grow on me was first the quality of the materials because the materials on these are super nice. And I also really like that there were varying shades of gray so it didn't seem too plain or monochromatic. I also do like those pops of color with that burnt yellow and that red, which is quite different from the 3 other Cool Gray Jordans, but I think this change was a very welcome one indeed. Overall, it just looks really premium, and you know, in a world where there's so many white Jordan 3s and black Jordan 3s, a mix of Cool Gray would be really nice for the sneaker rotation. Then for the price, the Jordan 3 Cool Gray retails for 9,445 pesos here in the Philippines, or $190 US. It was really nice that Jordan brand made a lot of pairs of these, and you know, even though the resellers tried to resell these like crazy, they didn't really get to do so because I think the supply was slightly higher than the demand, which meant that at least here in the Philippines, there were some that were sitting on shelves. It was really nice that even though I won these from a raffle and I pretty much just claimed them, they did have pairs on display which people could just, you know, go in and fit them and get them for retail with not much hassle. These are probably not everyone's cup of tea because they aren't an OG colorway, and these aren't super hyped up like a pair of black cements or white cements or even the UNC Jordan 3s that dropped in 2020. But if this was something that you missed out in 2007, or if you're like me and you genuinely just like the shoe for how it looks, then you shouldn't have much of a problem getting these. They are available over at Nike Park and at Jordan Manila and at Titan as well. So since they are still available in stores, I do highly discourage you from buying from resellers because you really can just get these for retail. So there you have it guys, that was my detailed review on the Jordan 3 cool gray. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then also make sure to join the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group. That's a place where we talk about sneakers all the time, and that's also where I do my monthly giveaways. So I will be leaving a link to the Facebook group down below, so please join if you haven't already. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball PH.